Sound check. That's 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Let's see if we can get the stream going properly, working properly today on YouTube. YouTube's been acting funny the last couple of days, but we still got the streams up. So whatever you missed, if you're watching on YouTube, what I did was re-upload the cleaner stream to YouTube. So if you missed one of those, they're right in my playlist, the current events playlist. So if the stream wasn't working properly, sorry about that, people on YouTube, but we do have that stream working properly. Not the stream, excuse me, the recording up properly on YouTube, just in case it started acting funny. So let's get this comment pinned on Instagram. Go get that live. We live on TikTok. Yes, we are. Good morning. Good morning, LinkedIn. Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, Rumble. Good morning, X. And YouTube seems to be working properly for now. YouTube's been acting kind of funny the last couple of days. So hopefully we are straight on YouTube here today. Good morning, everybody over there on TikTok stream. Good morning, Nikki. Good to see you here. Mikhail or Michelle asked, what do I do? Well, technically, I play a lawyer on TikTok. But other than that, I run this company called Work on Your Game. But I'll tell you about that in 1 second. Good morning, Soul Arts over on Instagram. Good morning. Good to see you here. The topic here today, because I know y'all on TikTok can't always see the topic. I don't know why they don't show y'all the title. Topic here today is, are the billionaires who are running the government, are they the reason that you don't have money? Are billionaires keeping you broke? We are going to address this question here today. The billionaires in the government, specifically Donald Trump and Elon Musk, noted for having a lot of money, are they going to bankrupt you? Are they going to bankrupt America? Are they going to hurt everybody? Because they are only, as Kamala Harris was fond of saying during the 2024 campaign, they're only working for their rich friends. Is this true? Is this actually happening? Let's dive into it. Let's figure out if this is actually the case. Now, let me introduce myself. For those who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete. I'm author of 40 books. I've done 4 TEDx talks, and I have this company and this brand, this philosophy called Work on Your Game that is all about helping professionals systematize and scale up what you are doing business-wise and personally-wise so that you can produce the results that you want to produce, because we are in a performance and results-based business. So that's what I help people do. So if you are a licensed professional, you're an entrepreneur owning your own business, you're in sales, you have a sales team or an organization that could use that bump in performance and producing results, then you can reach out to us over at Work on Your Game University. We'll get into that maybe later on. So let's get into talking about this. Good morning, Brandon, over on TikTok. Good morning, Michelle, over on TikTok as well. And by the way, for those of you who are new around here, I do take questions and comments. I just respond to them at the end. So I'm going to go through all the stuff that I'm going to say. And when I'm done, I'm going to go through questions and comments. So if you are on TikTok, because TikTok's notifications stream, they run it runs very heavily. So the more people are in here, the harder it is for me to keep up with all the comments as they come. So if you have a comment on TikTok or a question on TikTok and you want me to respond to it, I would suggest that you hold your question or comment until I actually start looking at the comments, because that gives you a better chance that I actually see it. If you post a comment right now, I probably won't see it. But if you want everybody else to see it, then you go ahead and post it. And by the way, if you're watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm live on YouTube over here on this camera. And make sure you follow me on Instagram. The links to both of those are in my profile on TikTok, my Instagram and my YouTube, because TikTok has had some shenanigans with certain things that I've talked about. I think I'm pretty safe in today's topic. But yesterday's topic, as a matter of fact, can I share with y'all some things? Can I share with y'all some of the DMs that I got on TikTok yesterday? Can I share with y'all some of the things people sent me on DMs yesterday on TikTok? Are y'all interested in hearing this? Put yes in the comments if you'd like me to share with you some of the DMs that I got yesterday from TikTok, because my assistant watches the DMs, but she let me know when the DMs came through. So for whatever reason, I don't know why this is a thing on TikTok. It only happens on TikTok, that when I'm talking about something and people either strongly agree or strongly disagree, of course you can leave comments. But what has happened is on TikTok, for whatever reason, I get a whole bunch of people will send me DMs either during my live or after the lives. Yesterday I had all these messages in the DMs on TikTok, and my assistant was showing me, and then I was looking through them and just seeing what people were saying. And it's like when people disagree, I guess instead of leaving a comment, because on TikTok, your comment can only be but so long, but people have more to say. So they sent me some DMs. So I'm going to read you. Let me see. There are 3 of them I'm going to read out to you. All right. So here's the first one. This came from, I'm not going to say who sent it. So I'm just reading the comments. So TikTok, don't ding me for these things that I'm reading. So here's the DM. Fuck you, motherfucker. That's the first thing he said with 2 exclamation points. My wife is a successful Black woman, disabled vet with a master's degree, and is losing her job because Elon and motherfuckers like you who support this white supremacist regime. For you to sit there and say she deserves this is fucking reprehensible. And then in all capital letters, fuck you. All right, so that's the first DM that I'm going to read to you here today. I got a bunch of these, but I'm going to share with you just a couple of them. All right, that was the first one. Here's the next one. So that was obviously a man. This one is from looks like a female. She's presenting herself as a female. And she says, why are you, and this is all in all capital letters after why are you, she says, supporting racist people, she didn't say white, racist people who hate you, Elon Musk and Donald Skunk. She didn't call him Donald Trump, she called him Donald Skunk. That's funny. I haven't heard anybody use that one yet. So she called him Elon Musty. She didn't say Musk. She said Elon Musty and Donald Skunk. Okay, so this is what people are coming up with on the internet these days. Elon Musty and Donald Skunk hate Black people. That's what she said. Again, this is a woman. It looks like a Black woman who sent me this message. That was the next thing that she said. Good morning, Brittany. Good to see you over here on TikTok. Thank you for moderating as usual. And I got one more. And this person sent a much longer message. And it sounds like a man. The way it reads sounds like it's a man talking. He says, can you please explain to me how firing 1,000 park rangers and freezing hiring of 5,000 seasonal workers is in any way a good idea? So what this person is doing is this is what we call a red herring. When someone takes whatever you're talking about, and then they try to go down a different path of detail to try to throw you off what you're actually talking about and try to basically beat you in detail by going to a specific part that you didn't actually mention. So this is what he's doing. But let me read the rest of his message. He says the national parks will increase in visitors by about 10% this year, and you are talking about cutting crucial people who keep the park clean, guests safe, and children educated. Their jobs can't be replaced by AI, brother. Working class, blue-collar people who make the world a better place were terminated. Now our precious national parks will be chaos this year. No, I'm not an immediate Elon hater or Trump hater. I'm just someone who goes outside and touches grass. Now, I've seen with my own eyes what park rangers do and stand for, and I've seen the struggles they already had with understaffing. All right, so those are the comments I'm going to read here today. I don't know why this guy is so passionate about park rangers. Maybe he works in a park. I don't know. But these are a couple of DMs that I got yesterday. So I'm sharing those with you because I thought it would be entertaining. And because I guess this is what people do on TikTok, that when you can't say everything you want to say because the comment doesn't allow enough space, they just decide to send me a DM. So I did get those DMs. I don't respond to, most of the time I don't respond to DMs. And again, my assistant is the first line of defense for my DMs. But if you want to send one, I can't stop you, I guess. I don't block people on social media for the most part. So if you want to talk crazy, go ahead and talk crazy. The audience will let you know whether what you're saying actually makes sense. So let's get into the topic here today, which is, as what just happened, and it was funny what that woman said, Elon Musty and Donald Skunk. So I might just use those today. Elon Musty and Donald Skunk, the rich billionaires who are allegedly going to hurt all of the United States. And they're keeping black people out of jobs. They're firing people who can't be replaced by AI. And the national parks are going to be chaos this season, allegedly, according to this guy who sent me the DM. National parks are going to be chaos because there's not going to be anybody working there, according to what this guy says. And I talked about this a good amount yesterday, and what people are doing, what's happening here with the government. And I explained this a lot yesterday. I'm going to explain it again today because some of you weren't here yesterday. Maybe you didn't hear me say it. And even if you heard me say it, you need to hear it again so you understand it, is that because Donald Skunk and Elon Musty have, and I'm saying that I'm being tongue in cheek, but because Trump and Elon have so many enemies, well, specifically Trump has enemies. People didn't really care about Elon until he bought X. And then he said free speech absolutism. And I'm basically going to let the people who have been being suppressed on Twitter, now X, I'm going to let them actually say what they want to say. People started to mildly be mad at Elon. And then when Elon said, I'm going to support Donald Trump and I'm going to be MAGA, and he came on the stage and he's jumping all around and saying, I'm full MAGA and I'm going to be part of Donald Trump's administration if he wins. That's when people started hating him about 90% as much as they hate Donald Trump. But Donald Trump still has the crown for the most hated person. So they hate Donald Trump, they hate Elon Musk. And what happens is the mainstream media, everyday citizens, and politicians who have positioned themselves as anti-Trump, all they're doing is taking anything that happens with Trump, they sensationalize it, They take it to what we call the absurd absolute, like this guy who left that comment. The absurd absolute is when someone makes a comment about being in support of something or believing something, and what you do is you stretch it to the furthest possible extent and make it seem like that's what they're saying, and then you argue against the absurd absolute of what they're saying. For example, if I say something like, I used to be plant-based fully, but nowadays I have started to eat meat more. And that's actually true. I used to be fully plant-based, used to be fully vegan. Nowadays I eat more meat. And I'll eat meat in my meals and not just plant-based meals the way that I used to. So let's say I say that. And then there's somebody who works for like PETA, and they're like an animal, saving the animals and save the planet type of person. So they don't like the fact that I used to only eat plant-based, but now I'm eating meat. They'll say something like, so what are you saying, Dre? Are you saying that you want all the animals in the world to be killed and slaughtered and destroyed just so you can have a meal to eat when you could easily eat food without that? See, that's the absurd absolute. You're taking what I said, you're stretching it to the furthest possible extent, and then you're making it seem like that's what I believe. And this is what people do with Donald Trump all day, every day. They take anything that he says or anything that he does, and to make it seem like it's just going to go to the furthest possible end. This is called the slippery slope fallacy. When someone takes one step in one direction, then it's only a matter of time before they're doing something else. It's like if somebody smokes a cigarette, and then someone else looks at them and says, you're smoking a cigarette. It's only a matter of time before you're addicted to heroin and you die from an overdose. Now, could that happen? Yes. But is that always the case? No, it's not. That's the absurd absolute. And when it comes to Donald Trump, people do this. Again, people have been doing this for 10 years straight. So you have several factions of people who are doing this. First of all, you have the mainstream media who sets the tone. Oops. All right, we still there? All right. Oof, my tablet fell over there. All right. So what's happening here? All right, there we go. We better there on TikTok. All right. So first of all, you have the mainstream media who sets the tone for the conversations that people are having, or at least they used to. And then, excuse me, an extension of the mainstream media are now the independent media. These are the TikTokers, the YouTubers, the podcasters, the social media influencers. They have kind of jumped into what used to just be the mainstream media. So now we can just say media, period. So all media, social media, mainstream media, etc. Then you have the politicians who have a lot of influence because of their status and their position. They say negative shit about Donald Trump, and they do the absurd absolutes. They take it even further than the mainstream media does, because the mainstream media talks about it on a kind of like an everyday level to where the everyday person like you and I can understand what's happening. Then you get the politicians who they start going into the details. They start saying, okay, well, this committee does this and this person's not allowed to do that legally, and we're going to go to court over this, and this person's violating this part of the Constitution, and here's a law over here that says they can't do it. So they start giving you the details and the facts. The problem with the people who are going against Donald Trump from the political angle, giving you the details and the facts, is that they are using what we call contextomy. And contextomy is a logical fallacy in which you take things out of context and then use them as supporting evidence of your point. And it's not that you are factually inaccurate. It's just that you are using only the facts that serve you, and you're leaving out the facts that would disconfirm your position. And politicians are really good at this. As a matter of fact, all politicians do this. Donald Trump even does it. Democrats and Republicans, they all do it. They use contextomy. They give you the facts that serve their argument. And for whatever reason, just on TikTok, I just got your live contains themes that some may find uncomfortable, has been restricted. Reason, regulated goods content. I don't even know what that means. So I don't know what TikTok is talking about. They just told me I've been restricted for regulated goods content. I don't even know. What did I say? But let's see. Let me put a little. Now, again, they just said it's been restricted. They didn't say that they didn't kick me off, but that doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to submit to TikTok, and hopefully they don't stop my stuff from being, I don't know what they're talking about there. So you never know. You could just say something random here on TikTok and they give you a restriction. So they just gave me a restriction on TikTok. They gave me 2 restrictions, as a matter of fact, and I don't even know what I said. But this is what I mean. Those of you watching on TikTok, this is why I told you, subscribe to my YouTube and follow me on Instagram, because this kind of nonsense happens often and I don't even know what I said. And this is a topic, this is a pretty benign topic. But anyway, if that was going to happen, it should have happened yesterday. But anyway, where was I? So they pull things out of context and they give you the parts that serve their argument and leave everything else out. And that I want you to understand there's a reason why politicians do this. And if I was a politician, I would do it. And if you become a politician, you need to do it, because if you tell people the full context of everything, meaning you got to tell them the good and the bad, you got to tell them, hey, here's what I'm going to do for you, but here's what it's going to cost. If you actually did that, you would never win an election. you could never win because you wouldn't get enough people excited enough to vote for you because they'd be like, well, it's great that you're going to lower my taxes, but the fact that costs are going to be higher in exchange, well, then what am I really getting? And the answer is Going live. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. How about now, YouTube? YouTube, how about now? All right. So we'll see what people say on YouTube. So I'll continue while I'm waiting. It's better now? All right. I don't know what happened. It said it was working fine before. I don't know why that happened. Thank you for letting me know. Lynn and Mauret over on YouTube. So data-driven results-oriented policies over political posturing. Donald Trump said he's going to drain the swamp. He said he's going to get, what he meant was getting rid of these career politicians who are not even really serving a purpose, not really helping the people that they were allegedly either elected or hired to help. They're basically just helping themselves and getting money from the government in the process. And because the government is so bloated and inefficient, that nobody is even noticing that these people are there drawing a paycheck. Donald Trump was basically threatening, I'm going to identify these people and get rid of them. Now, during his first term, he was unsuccessful at doing this. You notice that Donald Trump did not mention drain the swamp during his second and third political campaigns. He stopped mentioning drain the swamp. He only mentioned it during his first campaign. And I believe the reason why he stopped talking about draining the swamp, because he realized that there were so many alligators in that swamp that he would have a hard time draining it by himself. I think he realized this is kind of a mission impossible for me to drain the swamp. He couldn't drain the swamp. So that's why he went and got Elon Musk. Elon Musk is going to help him drain the swamp because Elon specializes in draining swamps. He specializes in basically 80-20ing business processes. 80-20 means 80% of your results come from 20% of your inputs, which is why when he bought Twitter, he fired 80% of the staff and the app still worked perfectly fine. They didn't need all those people. And Elon is going to do the same thing to the government. And most of the 80% that is going to get drained out, that's the swamp. Those are alligators. Elon's doing that right now. And what you're seeing and hearing in the media these days are the alligators fighting the fact that they're being replaced. That's what you're hearing. So drain the swamp is happening, and Elon is draining the swamp. And again, if you told a bunch of alligators you're fired from your job, do you think the alligators are going to just sit there and accept that? No, they're going to fight. Right now, the alligators are fighting back. And this is the negative media, news stories, propaganda, etc. You're hearing about Elon and Trump are the alligators who are having their swamp drained from underneath their feet, fighting back against the fact that this is happening. And again, any human being will fight back against losing their status, losing their careers, losing their paychecks, losing maybe the only thing they've ever been good at. Of course, you're going to fight back. What would you do? Would you fight back? I would fight back. So I understand this. I don't think they're going to win, but I understand why they're fighting back. Moving on. We talk about talent because the topic here today is Elon and Donald Trump, are they hurting people by being billionaires and making money and being rich people working in the government? When it comes to top talent in the business world, talent must actually perform or you fail. In the business world, companies seek to hire top talent. Now, talent is subjective and is relative, but the people who run businesses, they're always going to hire the most talented people they can get because they need people who can perform at a higher level. And if those people don't perform, the business will fail. And in the government, the difference with the government is that you can have a bunch of people who are not very talented, but they're good at playing the political game. They're good at leveraging relationships. They can get in and they can get a position and they aren't really doing anything to benefit anybody, yet they stay there. They keep drawing the check. And it doesn't seem to be hurting the performance and the results of the said entity being the government. This is the bloated inefficiency of the government. And this is exactly what Elon is coming in to attack, because Elon is coming in with the mindset of an entrepreneur. Now, some people push back and say, well, the government is not a business the way that Elon has his businesses. And you are correct. But that doesn't mean that some of his approaches that he gleaned from the business world could not apply successfully to the government. Now, it depends on how you define the word successfully, because for him, successfully will mean 80-20ing the process, as he did with Twitter. He bought the app, he bought the company, 80% of the staff got fired, and it still ran perfectly fine. Now, imagine he does that with the government. 80% of people in the government getting fired. Again, that's 80% of people. How many people does the government employ? They fire all those people. Some people are really going to be pissed off. Let's find out. ChatGPT would know. How many people are currently employed by the United States government? And we'll give ChatGPT has been taking longer to give answers because they have this reasoning thing now. You ask it a question, then it shows this reasoning, and then it basically shows the reasoning, and then they give you the actual answer. So I guess this is supposedly giving you better context as to where they're coming up with their answers. I'd rather just give me the answer, give me the reasoning afterward. But this is what ChatGPT is doing now. So the answers actually are coming slower. I think people are going to let open AI know they don't kind of like, I don't really like this. So anybody work at ChatGPT, let them know I don't like that it's slower. I like when they just gave me an immediate answer. So what they say is it varies by source who you ask, but they say the U.S. Office of Personnel Management reports that there are 2.1 million civilian employees working in federal agencies, 2.1 million. Then they say with military, 1.3 million. And when you combine both of those, you get 3.4 million. So let's leave the military out. Let's just say 2.1 million. Let's say 2.1 million people working in the government. If you were to fire 80% of those people, let me just do the 2.1 times 0.80%. That means 1,680,000 people would get fired. What do you think would happen if you were the person, you came into an organization and you fired 1,680,000 people who have had a career working at that place? You're the one who fired them and everybody knows you fired them. And you're working with a guy that half the country already dislikes. What do you think is going to happen to your name and your reputation? You're going to get trashed. You're going to get run through the coals. You probably don't want to check your mentions on social media unless you have a very strong stomach and a strong mind. That's what's happening to Elon Musk right now. 2.1 million people. He's looking at 80-20 the situation. Now, are they going to fire 80% of people? Probably not, but they're going to try. They're going to try. What, they only fired half of that 1.6 million. That's still a lot of mad people. What, they fired only a third of that 1.6 million. That's still a whole lot of people. What, they fired 10%. That's still a whole lot of people losing their jobs. There's still 100,000 people getting fired. So this is going to happen. It's already started. And in the business world, again, you have to hire top talent, and the talent has to perform. In the bureaucratic world, how many of you work in an organization where you know somebody who works there who ain't good at their job? They are not talented. They don't really produce anything, yet they never get fired. Put me if you know anybody who fits that description. Especially if you work in corporate or academia or just a big business, a big company, where there are people there who are not very good. They don't really perform. They don't really add. They don't really serve a purpose. They're not adding any value whatsoever. But for whatever reason, probably because they know the right person, or they've been entrenched for so long, or because nobody's paying attention, they get to keep their jobs and they keep drawing a paycheck. Somebody said, look at the post office. Well, the post office is the government. So so a bunch of you said yes. A bunch of you people said you know people who fit that description. And the reason this is because in bureaucracies, the organization can still be successful generally without being efficient. The government is, I think we can agree, the United States government as a whole, in the big picture, United States government is successful because we have the most powerful country in the world. We have this freedom of speech. There's this upward mobility. You have more opportunity in America than you have anywhere else in the world. And the government is a part of protecting that. So we have to credit the government for that. The government is generally successful, even though there's a whole lot of inefficiency happening within the government. Now, see, if you're running a business, if you're an entrepreneur running a business, and there's a whole lot of inefficiencies happening in your business is not going to be successful. It will not succeed for long because those inefficiencies are going to show immediately, and you're going to lose money, and you got to do something quick. A big bureaucracy can survive this kind of stuff and survive. Like Elon put out that graphic that showed the money going out to Social Security recipients, alleged recipients, people who are ages that most human beings never lived to. There are people over the age of 200 allegedly receiving Social Security checks. The government doesn't hurt by sending those checks out. They don't hurt. It doesn't bother them because it's so big. But see, if you're running a business with 80 employees, you notice that. You notice every single dollar, or at least you should. Or if you don't, you're going to be out of business very soon. So in bureaucracies, you can get away with this stuff. And Elon is trying to take the mindset of an entrepreneur and he's going to apply it to the bureaucracy. And again, who's going to sit back and just let that happen? If you had a career in this bureaucracy for so long, nobody's going to just take that. And that's why the pushback. Next point, less influence from political party machines. The good news about someone being independently wealthy when they get into politics is that they are less apt to be bought and paid for by people who run political machines. So you look at someone like Kamala Harris, and I'm using her because she was the last person to run for president. What skill, what ability, and what money did Kamala Harris have or earn outside of the government before she got into politics? And no, none of you can answer the question. Don't even try to answer the question. None of you can, because there's no answer. She didn't do anything else. The only thing she ever did was politics. And I gave you several other examples: Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton. We could use him. You could say George W. Bush. You could say John Kerry. You could say Al Gore. You could say Joe Biden. Most of these people are career politicians. The good thing about Donald Trump is that he came in, he already had some money, which meant, here's the positive about it, the fact that he already had money, is that he didn't have to do what the Republican machine told him to do. Because frankly, you all know this, the Republican machine did not want Donald Trump to even be the nominee, let alone the president. The first time, they didn't want him to be the nominee. And the second time and the third time, they didn't want him to be the nominee, but they couldn't do anything about it because the people demanded him. And the reason why the Republican machine did not want Donald Trump to be the nominee is not because he's a bad guy or he's xenophobic or racist or any of those things that people say about him. The reason they didn't want him to be the guy is because they couldn't control him because he had money. He didn't need their money. That's why they didn't like him. So anytime you see people doing something that it just doesn't quite make sense to you, ask yourself the question, where's the money going? Or the directive is follow the money. Follow the money. All right. All of you should always ask yourself this. I saw this guy, he was saying this on the internet. He was making a very good point that if you're on social media and you see some girl who looks relatively attractive and all her posts, she's in this town, and then she's in this country, and then she's traveling to that place, and then she's at this 5-star restaurant eating a nice meal, and then she's showing off these nice clothes, she's in this luxury hotel, and every post she's showing you some place that you know is not cheap to go to, but all you see is pictures of her, and you're asking yourself, how is she doing this? She claims she's in real estate. Now, how is she doing this? The answer is follow the money. All right, somebody who has money is financing that, and that person is probably just not on camera. I digress from the point, but the point being follow the money. The reason why the Republicans don't like Donald Trump is because he already has his money and he can't be controlled the way that the rest of them are controlled, because the rest of them need the Republican machine, which means they have to do what the Republican machine says. And if you don't do it, they cut off your money. They cut off your money. You can't run a campaign. You can't run a campaign. You can't win. You can't win. You're out of business. Your career is over. So they control them. Kamala Harris, again, did she make money doing anything other than government? The answer is no, which means what? Which means that the Democratic machine goes to Kamala and says, hey, Miss Harris, here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to say. Here's what you need to go along with. Here's what you need to believe. And here are the things that you can't talk about, that you can't be with. Here are the things you need to be against. Here's the things you need to support. And if you violate any of these, we're cutting off your money and your career will be over. And here's the problem with them making that threat to her is that if her career in politics ends, what other career is she going to fall back on? And Kamala Harris is like 60 years old. All right, what's she going to do? And I'm using Kamala as an example here, but swap in your favorite politician. Most of them are career politicians, and they all have the same man. They all get read the same riot act. All right, here's what it is. Here's what you got to do. Here's what you can do. Here's what you can't do. Here's what you agree with. Here's what you don't agree with. You go against the grain, we're cutting you off, and your career will be over. What you going to do? What you going to do if we end your career in politics? And you look at your own resume. I haven't done anything else. I guess I better follow the protocol. Donald Trump didn't have to follow the protocol. Why? Because he had his own money. Elon Musk does not have to follow protocol. Why? Because he has his own money. I'd rather a politician who has their own money, who at least has the option of sticking up a middle finger to the machine and doing what they want to do, rather than someone who does not have the option and they got to do what the machine tells them to do. But that's just me. You tell me if you think different. I find that, moving on to my next point, that business people tend to embrace new technologies. And you have to when you're a business person, because otherwise you go out of business if you don't. So they embrace things like AI, automation, data science, and other modern systems that can replace outdated governmental processes. Some people in government embrace these things, but at the same time, they can't embrace it too much, because eventually that thing is going to encroach on your position and is going to replace you. There are some people working in bureaucratic organizations right now today that if they were to read the writing on the wall, they understand that there is some technology that is about to make them irrelevant. If you work at McDonald's or Wendy's or what's the other fast food places, you work in one of these places and you take orders at the front register, you understand. You work at Walmart, you work at CVS, you understand that you're about to get replaced by a computer, right? Everybody understands that, right? There was what restaurant was that? Burger King. There was a Burger King in my neighborhood. See it all the time. It's prime real estate, great location, middle of Miami. It should be something other than Burger King. They probably make a lot of money. And I remember one day I saw them put a fence around it. You know, when they tear down buildings, they put the big fence around it, and the fence has tarp on it, so you can't even see inside the fence. So they put a fence around the Burger King. And I said, damn, somebody bought this Burger King. Whatever they put here, they're going to have, this is a prime location with great foot traffic. So I said, whatever they put here is going to be amazing. I wonder what it's going to be. So then like a week later, I walked right past that same Burger King, and the fence was gone, but the Burger King was still there. They didn't tear it down. And I looked inside because they had these big windows. I don't eat a Burger King, so I just looked inside. I saw the window, and I noticed they had just remodeled the inside of the store. What they did was they took the front counters, which, you know, when you walk into a fast food restaurant, there's like 4 people standing there to take your order. Hi, welcome to Burger King, man, take your order. What they did was replace those counters with these big LED order boards. So instead of me talking to a human to order my food, now I just put my order in on the board by touching the screen, and then I pay for it with my phone on Apple Pay. And then there's one person standing at what used to be the counter. All they do is grab the food from the back and say, all right, order for Mike, order for Lisa, order for Jerry, and then they just hand you your bag. So they took 4 people and they replaced it with 1 person. That's automation. That's what AI is doing. They're replacing humans with technology. And any of you who works at a job where you're doing a rote task, something that you do over and over and over again, and you don't really need to think in order to do the job, you should already know that you're about to be replaced by a computer. It's only a matter of when, not if. And if you haven't already been replaced, then you should start thinking about how you can learn to utilize these things so that you actually can stay ahead of the curve of what's happening in society. Elon Musk getting into the government, working with Donald Trump, is speeding up this process for the government. In the business world, this is already happening because business owners have to do this. The government does not necessarily have to do this. And the people who decide what happens in the government are usually whoever's running the administration. And the fact that Trump won is the only reason this is occurring. Had Trump not won, had Kamala won, none of this would be taking place. And the government would just keep being the big bureaucratic machine that it is. But because Trump won, now they're doing this. Now they're draining the swamp. But the swamp would never get drained had Trump not won. Had Trump not actually come into politics, we wouldn't even know, we wouldn't even be calling it the swamp because nobody would have brought it up. So next, dealing with bureaucratic red tape. All right, this is the crux of the conflict. The crux of the conflict between Donald Trump's administration and everybody who doesn't like Donald Trump's administration is that a lot of these people like the presence of the red tape. Why? Because the red tape keeps them employed, it keeps them paid, and it keeps them relevant. You remove the red tape, there's a whole lot of people who will no longer matter. And as I said 10 times already here today, they are going to fight this. And many of the issues when it comes to Donald Trump are based in the fact that he's trying to remove red tape. And this is going to continue to be the thing because he's fighting against, because if Donald Trump had won and he had just come in and just done politics as usual, just as a Republican, people wouldn't be mad. Is the fact that he came in from the very beginning. He came in from the very beginning and saying, no more politics as usual, no more career politicians. We're going to drain the swamp. I'm going to take all the nastiness going on in the government and the ineffectiveness happening in the government, and I'm going to change it. And people believed that he was actually going to do it. And this is how he got so much attention, from negative attention and positive attention. And they know that he meant it. Now, they did a very good job during his first administration because he thought he was going to drain the swamp by himself. He realized he couldn't do it by himself, so that he had to go get some help. So him not being in office during that 4 years was actually beneficial for him because he got to step back, take a look at what was really happening in the government. He saw that during his first term. Then he got to think about it for 4 more years. Then he came in this time with a team of people he actually wanted. You saw who he has in his cabinet, right? Tulsi, RFK. He got Bondi. He got Cash. He got Rubio. Vivek was there, and Vivek ended up leaving Doge. Now he got Elon. He came in with a team of people who he knows exactly what he wants them to do this time around. See, he was kind of flying blind the first time in because he hadn't done it before. This time he knows exactly what he needs to do. So that 4 years that he was out actually is going to help him, I believe, if you like Trump. Now, if you don't like him, then this 4 years is actually going to hurt you if you don't like him because he's going to be much more effective this time than he was the first time. Next, tax cuts for the wealthy and big business rather than everyday workers or social services. This is one of the pushbacks. Kamala Harris tried to use this often. It didn't really work, but she used it. Donald Trump is only trying to help out his billionaire friends. He's only going to cut taxes for the rich people. And Donald Trump, I guarantee you at some point there will be a tax cut that comes out. Everybody's going to know about it. And it's going to benefit people over a certain amount of income. Is that going to happen? Yes, it is. It happens at every administration, by the way. It happens during Democratic administrations, happens during Republican administrations. Let me explain to you why that happens, because people tend to think, oh, the government is only trying to help out rich people, or the Republicans only trying to help out rich people. Understand something. The reason why, actually, let me back up. Are y'all familiar with Robert Kiyosaki? Have any of you read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki? Are you familiar with his concept called the cash flow quadrant? Put yes if you are familiar and you know what I'm talking about. Put no if you are not familiar and you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm asking about Robert Kiyosaki. He has a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and he has a concept called the cash flow quadrant. Are y'all familiar with the cash flow quadrant? And I'm going to explain to you this whole tax thing. Not the whole tax thing. I'm explaining to you some of the tax thing. Okay, some of you are familiar and a bunch of you are not familiar. Okay, so Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a book that if you want to be an entrepreneur, you should read that book. It should be required reading. There are 2 books that I say are required reading for entrepreneurs, actually 3. One of them is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. The other one is The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And the third one is The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Those are the 3 books you should read. The Rich Dad, Poor Dad is just a foundation of mindset of entrepreneurship. Tim Ferriss, he basically took that same concept and he explained it for the digital world and tells you practically and tactically exactly how to actually do things, how to actually do it. Kiyosaki gives you the mindset. Tim Ferriss tells you tactically how to do it. And the 48 Laws of Power is more of a strategy and mentality book so that you can face the world and the fact that not everybody in the world is nice and you're not in kindergarten anymore. And you need to learn how to deal with different types of people and personalities that you will come across in life. So those are the 3 that I would recommend to everybody. But anyway, going back to Robert Kiyosaki. He has this thing called the cash flow quadrant where he explains where you want to be in terms of how you make your money. So in the cash flow quadrant, you have employees, you have small business owners, then you have business owners, and then you have investors. So ESBI, employee, small business, business owner, and investor. And he explains that the people on the left side of the cash flow quadrant, that's the left, my left, your right, these people get taxed first. They get taxed the most. Employees and small business owners. Why? Because the only person who you are helping when you make money is yourself. So the government takes money from you first. So any of you who is a W-2 employee, you look at your pay stubs, you pretty much know how this works. If you're supposed to be making $1,000 every paycheck, but then you get your paycheck and you see it's not $1,000, it's like $720. Where did that $280 go? Well, you know where it went. Look at your pay stub. The government took it from you before you even got a chance to touch it. And then every year in tax season, you get a refund, but your refund does not equate to all the money they took. You get some money back. You don't get all the money back. And the whole principle of this, folks, is when you're in business, you always want to get your money first. You don't want to get your money first, not last. This is the reason why I tell people who write books. I've written 40 books. I tell people who write books, you don't want to sell all your books through Amazon. Some people like selling their books through Amazon. I don't like when people buy my books on Amazon. My books are on Amazon, but if you want to buy one of my books, I will send you to one of our sites and my funnels where you can buy the book directly from us, and we'll give you a better deal than on Amazon. And we know we have a better deal than Amazon because we set the prices on Amazon. The reason why I don't want to sell my books through Amazon is because, number one, I don't have your information. If you buy a book on Amazon, I don't know your name. I don't have your phone number. I don't have your address. I don't have any of your information. Only Amazon has that information. All I know is that you bought a book, and I don't even know that it was you. I just see a stat that says you sold one book 10 minutes ago. But if you bought a book from me, we have all your direct information, which means we can continue to market to you and sell to you in the future. And the most important reason why I don't want to sell my books through Amazon is because if you buy a book from me on Amazon today, I don't get that money until like 60 days from now. That's the real reason why I don't want to sell a book on Amazon. If you buy a book from one of my websites, from our funnels today, we get the money right now, today. We get the money immediately in our account. And the whole principle, again, is you want to get your money first, not last. When you're an employee, you get your money last. So what happens is the government takes their cut and then you get whatever's left. So you're the last one to eat. You don't want to be that. You want to be the first one to eat. When you're a small business owner, now technically you get to collect your money from whoever pays you, but you get taxed at a higher rate when you're a small business owner than if you're on the other side of the equation. The business owners, people who employ others, and investors, people who invest money into businesses, they get taxed at lower rates. There's a whole lot of detail to this, but they get taxed at lower rates. They get tax cuts. They get tax breaks. And sometimes they pay more in taxes. The actual dollar amount, they'll pay more in taxes because they have more money, but they get to keep their money and then they pay taxes. So when you own a business, for example, I'm a business owner, I don't get taxes taken out of any money that I bring in. Every dollar I bring in, I get the dollar. So if I earn $500,000, I get $500,000. Then the government says, okay, now, Dre, you got to do your taxes and you got to tell us everything you did this year and all the money you made and how you made it. And then they give you a number and say, okay, you owe us this. And then you have to write them a check and pay your taxes. The point being, I get the money first, the government gets their money last. And you want to be in a position where you get your money first, not last. So I'm saying all that to say this. Why does the government allow business owners who usually make more money than employees? Why do they allow them to get their money first instead of taking money first from them? They got more money. Why not do that? Here's the reason why. Because business owners and investors create jobs. Now think about this. Person who owns a business. And when I say business owner, what I mean is you have other people working for you, as opposed to a small business owner where you're just the only person working for yourself. Some people call that owning a job. So when you're a business owner, you have other people working for you, even if it's just one person, even if you employ yourself, depending on where you set your business up, you are creating jobs for other people. Now, why does the government care that you create jobs for other people? Because what did I just tell you about what they do with employees? If I own a business and I create 100 jobs and I have 100 employees working for me, guess what? The government likes that because now that's 100 more people who they get to take your money before you get to see it. Not my money as the business owner, but all 100 of my employees. Before you get the money that I wrote you in a paycheck, the government gets to take their cut. And the government loves that because the widest part of the tax base are employees. They don't get the most money from employees, but they're the widest part of the tax base are the employees because the government gets to take your money up front. You can't play tax games when you're an employee because they already got your money. Now, when you're an entrepreneur or an investor, you can play games with the tax code. And I don't mean cheating the tax code. What I mean is you can have an accountant who can find all the loopholes and find the most ways to save you the most money. So if you remember in the 2016 campaign, Hillary Clinton many times tried to attack Donald Trump with this guy's not really paying taxes. He's not paying anything in federal taxes. And Donald Trump said, that's smart. Why would you want to pay taxes? He said the whole point is to not pay taxes. It's not to give as much as you want because the Democrats have had this idea. Obama said this often. Joe Biden kept saying it. Kamala used it a little bit. Pay your fair share. Pay your fair share, which is basically this morality play that you should want to pay taxes. Let me ask the question. How many people listening to this want to pay as much in taxes as possible? Raise your hand. Say yes if you do, no if you don't. How many of you agree with this? Pay your fair share. You want to pay as much in tax as possible. You would pay more if you could. Put yes if you want to pay more, and you would pay more if you could, or no if you don't want to. And most of you are answering no. All right, nobody wants to pay more in taxes. So this whole concept of pay your fair share, usually people, again, they say this as a moral high ground fallacy. They're just saying it like, oh, you're a bad person if you don't want to pay more in taxes. Nobody wants to pay more in taxes. So business owners, the reason that they get tax breaks, and investors, the reason they get tax breaks is because they're putting resources into creating jobs that allows the government to take money off the top from all the employees. The government loves employees. This is the reason why you always hear politicians bragging about lowering unemployment. Why do they care about lowering unemployment? Because the fewer people who are unemployed, that means the more people have jobs. And if you have a job, that means you get a paycheck. And if you get a paycheck, that means the government is taking money from you before you have a say in what happens with your own money. They love employees. And they love business owners too, because business owners create opportunities for more employees to exist. And investors do the same thing because an investor puts money into a business. And if they put money into a business, that means there must be something happening in the business. It means they have employees. This means the employees get paychecks. And every time you get a paycheck, the government takes its money from you before you get a chance to have a say in what happens with that money. And the government loves to have a say in your money before you have a say in your money. And we already have established that the government is very inefficient and bureaucratic and slow. Why would you want any entity who is inefficient, bureaucratic, and slow to take your money before you have a chance to touch it? I don't know why anybody would be okay with that. Now, some of you may be saying, well, Dre, I have a job. What am I supposed to do about it? It's a good question. Start a business on the side. If you have a business on the side, even while you keep your job, and what I'm about to tell you is not financial advice, please speak to an accountant or a tax professional. If you have a side business, even with a full-time job, there are certain tax breaks you will be allowed to use just because you have that side business, even if it is not producing the majority of your income. Just the fact that you have it puts you in a position to take tax breaks that you can't take just from your job. Now, again, nothing that I just said is official tax advice. Please speak to an accountant or an attorney before you follow anything that I said. But that is true. I know that to be true for a fact. But again, speak to a professional or an attorney before you do anything. So these tax cuts for the wealthy, but they say Donald Trump's is going to tax breaks to the wealthy. How do wealthy people become wealthy? Are they just working more hours than everybody else? Are they just working harder than everybody else? Are they smarter than everybody else? No. Wealthy people are wealthy because they own businesses. And I just explained to you what a business owner does and why the government likes business owners, because business owners create jobs. And every president always brags about lowering unemployment. You always hear every president bragging about that, right? How people have jobs, how they created more jobs. Joe Biden created this many jobs. You hear they all talk about that. And why does it matter to them? I just explained it to you why it matters to them. And who creates those jobs? The government does not create those jobs. Who creates those jobs are business owners. And who supports those jobs are investors. And you can be a business owner and an investor. Buy some stock. You can go on apps these days and buy $1 worth of stock. You can buy $1 worth of stock in Apple. You're officially an investor in Apple. You own $1 worth of Apple. All right, that could be 0.02% of one share, but you own it. You're an owner. All right, you are an investor, especially as soon as you start doing that. The government likes people who create jobs because those people get taxed. That's why they give tax cuts to the wealthy. And another reason why the government gives tax cuts to the wealthy is because when you have a lot of money, you have more options as to what you can do with your money. You can put your money into mechanisms that are sheltered from the government being able to tax them. See, when you have a job and your only source of income is coming from that paycheck, you don't really have that many. The government took it from you before you even had to say. So you don't have any choices. All right. They made the choice for you. When you own a business or you have other resources financially, other vehicles financially, you have a lot more options. So the reason why the government gives tax breaks to the wealthy is because the government understands that if we don't give these people tax breaks, they will use their resources to keep their money away from us, and therefore we can't tax them at all. So it's better to get them to pay this much in tax rather than trying to tax them this much and get nothing. See, if we try to go this far, we're going to get nothing. If we go this far, at least they'll pay. And again, I'm very much simplifying this argument, but this is generally the point. If the government just decided, let's say the government just decided, you know what, we're going to tax a company like Amazon or the people who own Amazon, Jeff Bezos, we're going to tax him at 50%. All the money you make, you got to pay 50% on the money that you make. If they actually did that, Jeff Bezos would immediately take his money and his company outside of the United States. So he doesn't have to pay taxes anymore. If you're not living in the United States, you don't have to pay American taxes. That's it. He was just take his money out. And the government understands this. So what they say is, all right, we're not going to tax him at 50%. All right, let's tax him at a level that at least he'll be okay with, and he'll keep his company here. Because you know how many people Amazon employs? Because if that man takes his company out of this country, there's a whole bunch of people now not going to have jobs. So y'all got to understand there are several pieces to this. And see, it's not just about the way Joe Biden would talk about it. He made it seem so clean. Like, oh, it's just this rich guy. We just take more money from the rich guy. That'll help everybody else out. But what he didn't tell you, this is the trade-off. And Joe Biden understood this, at least back when he was mentally lucid. He understood this, but he never explained it because it wouldn't help him to explain it. But it's true, is that if we were to actually tax the people with all the money, they can take their companies, which means all the people that are employed by that company, and they can take the money that gets generated by their company. Like the fact they have a factory in Arlington, Virginia, you know how much electricity they pay for? Do you know how many jobs that is? Do you know how much those people go to the restaurants in the neighborhood? People go buy a house there. People rent there from the people who own houses. They would destroy the entire economy there would collapse in a way if he was to take that away. So we try to tax this guy too much. He has a pushback on more taxes. When someone is financially wealthy, they have a way of fighting back against anything the government does. When you are an employee and all your money is coming just from your job, you don't have a way of fighting back because you don't have the resources to fight back. That's the reason why the government just taxes you as much as they feel like. But when you have resources, the government can't do whatever they want to do to you because you have a way of fighting back against what they do. And they know that. And that's the reason why they give tax breaks to people who have money. So tax cuts for the wealthy is not rich people helping rich people. I mean, actually, you can look at it like that, but that's not the reason why they're doing it. And a lot of people don't understand that. So then when they hear Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Barack Obama talking about, well, these people got to pay their fair share. They're not helping us out because they're not paying taxes. Or if we just taxed all the billionaires this much, it'd be enough money to pay to fix world hunger. It's some bullshit you hear people saying on social media. All nonsense. And some of them know that what they're saying is nonsense because they're just playing the game. And some of them actually believe that what they're saying is true because they don't understand what I just explained. Either way, it's bullshit. I just explained to you the reality of the situation. Let's move on. So people who are billionaires are used to having absolute control in their businesses. Now, one of the challenges, Elon is running into this challenge right now. The government is run by a system of checks and balances. You can't just do what you want to do. Even the president can't just. Everything you do in the government, you have to go through something or someone else before you can actually do it. This is one of the reasons why the government is a bureaucracy, because nobody can just do something. They got to go through this person, and you got to go to that person. They got to go to that person. I explained this to you all either yesterday or the day before. One of the reasons, as a business owner, I don't do a lot of corporate business for this specific reason. I don't like dealing with layers of people. When I'm doing business with people, if a company reaches out to me and says they want to do some business with me, cool. I want to talk to the decision maker or your lieutenant. I want to talk to 5 people. I don't want to talk to 8 people. I don't want to talk to 10 people. I want to talk to the person who can make the decision. And any of you who's in sales or in business understand what I mean when I say that's the person who has the responsibility and the authority to write a check. I want to talk to the person who controls the money and your number 2 person, the person who's next to the person who controls the money. I don't want to talk to anybody else. I'm not doing this 8 people CC'd on the email shit. I hate that. Why? Because it creates layers of bureaucracy and it slows down the process. I run a business. I'm not the government. I don't want to wait 30 days for my money. I want my money now. All right. That's the way that I operate. I'm not saying all of you need to do it, but this is the way that I operate. The government is extremely slow and they have all of these layers. One of the reasons that they have layers is because of the systems of checks and balances. I'm not knocking the system of checks and balances. System of checks and balances keep body in check so that we don't get tyranny in the government. Because if anyone could just do whatever they want to do, well, the system, then we could possibly get a tyrannical leader. You can get dictator from day one. It could be a Democrat. It could be a Republican. You give any human being unchecked power where nobody can check them, they will eventually become corrupt. I don't care who they are. So I like the fact that the government has a system of checks and balances because it keeps everybody in check. At the same time, I would not like doing business inside of such a place because it makes everything too damn slow. And everybody in the government has a personal agenda. That's what makes everything slow. Because if you have an agenda, you don't like me. You have an agenda and you do like me. Now we got to resolve this before we can move forward. And this is the whole thing. So if you saw, you want to see an example of this, go look up on YouTube. Look at the videos of the confirmation hearings for Pam Bondi, for Kash Patel, for Tulsi, for RFK, and it was somebody else that I was watching. What's the guy's name? Hegseth. Look at the confirmation hearings. The confirmation hearings, for those who don't know, half the committee is Democrat and half the committee is Republican. Now, since Trump is the guy and all the people he appointed are on his side, in the confirmation hearings, the Democrats go and do this performative trashing of the candidate. They ask him all these accusatory questions. Then the Republicans say good stuff to him. And then they just do this back and forth for 3 hours. All right, they had to do this. This is how the government works. And this is why I can't work in the government. Because there's so much bureaucracy and just people doing shit just because they have to feel important. And it slows everything down. It slows down the money. It slows down the outcomes. It slows down the results being achieved. And Elon Musk, I believe, it's only February. It's only been a month. I would say sometime within this year, Elon Musk is going to express some level of frustration with this process. Why? Because he's an entrepreneur. And when you're an entrepreneur, you do whatever you want to do, especially when you own the company. You do what you want and nobody can stop you, and you do it fast. If you want something done today, it's done today. When you work in the government, it never happens that way. When you work in the government, you want something done today, it might be done in 6 weeks, maybe, if you can get the right people to go along with you and stay out of your way. I predict within this year, you're going to see Elon openly vent some frustration over the process of working with the government because everything is slow in the government and you can't just do what you want to do because it's set up that you can't do what you want to do. So this is going to happen. And in a way, it's actually a good thing because that means nobody can run crazy. Nobody can run around crazy in the government. But at the same time, it makes things slow. So if something needs to happen fast, it can't because the government is designed to be slow. So you decide whether that's good or bad. Next, people may say that these billionaires, the topic here today is, are billionaires hurting everyday people? People say that billionaires are not connected to the struggles of everyday working class, middle class, and lower class people. And I would say that's actually true. Do I think Elon Musk understands, any of you who's listening to this right now, you feel like financially you have to really make some tough decisions every month? Like, all right, can I pay for childcare? Can I put gas in the car? Can I pay the electric bill? Can I pay the light bill? Can I pay for groceries? Can I take care of rent or my mortgage or my car payment? If you really feel like you got to make really You have to make some serious financial decisions every single month. Can somebody like Elon Musk relate to you? And the answer is no, he cannot relate to you. If Elon Musk is worth, what is he worth? $100 billion, whatever it is. Elon Musk, I doubt it's been a long time since Elon Musk went to the grocery store and worried about how much the stuff costs and he was putting in his cart. When I was a kid, I remember I grew up with both parents at home. I have one sister, and my mom would usually do the grocery shopping, and I would often go to the grocery store with her. You know what my mom would do when we went to the grocery store? She would have a envelope, like an envelope that you put letters in, and she would have an ink pen. And when we were in the grocery store, every single item that she put in the cart, she would write down the price of that item on the envelope. And then every few items, she would do the addition. And so she knew exactly how much everything in the cart was going to cost. And then she would even calculate the sales tax, because I think back then it was like 6% sales tax. I'm from Philadelphia, PA, so I think it was 6%. She would calculate the sales tax and she would add that in. So she knew exactly how much everything in the cart was, because she had to make sure that she brought enough money with her to pay for whatever was in the cart. And if she saw that something was going to take her over, she would take stuff out the cart before we even got up to the register. So when we got to the register, she knew exactly how much money it was going to cost, down to the dollar. She wasn't doing that because she wanted to practice her math. She was doing that because she had to watch the money. And I'm saying all that to say, Elon Musk, when's the last time he had to do that? Who knows? He may have never had to do that, right? So he never had to do that. So can he relate to the everyday person? No, Elon Musk cannot relate to the everyday person. Now, here's what I also said. Most of your politicians who you can name, neither can they. They can't relate to you. They can't relate to that situation of you trying to figure out which bill to pay. Do you think there's any politician, like people you can name, who are concerned about which bills they're going to pay this month? Anyone? Can you name a single one? A Democrat or Republican? Can you name one? None of them can relate to you. So any of you thinks that, oh, well, Elon Musk can't relate to me, Donald Trump can't relate to me because they're quote unquote billionaires. Well, neither can the politicians who are not billionaires. Again, can you name a single politician whose name we know, who you think has to make a tough decision about which bill to pay this month, last month, or next month? Can you name a single one? None of them can relate to you if that's your situation. So it has nothing to do with being a billionaire. You don't have to have $1 billion to be in those situations. So Art said J.D. Vance grew up very poor. Yes, I've heard that. He had a whole book about it. He ain't poor anymore, though. Does he have to make those tough decisions today? The answer is no. So yes, he could relate because he's been there, but he's not there now. So I'm saying all that to help all of you understand. Most politicians fit into the category, even not as billionaires. They really can't relate to where you're at. I don't know if y'all know the statistics on income in America, but if you earn at least $150,000 a year, you're in the top 10% of income earners in America. Most people in politics, the people whose names you know, they all earn at least $150,000 a year from all the things they do, between their actual salary from the job, which most of it you can Google, and then whatever money they make from doing other stuff, media appearances, speaking gigs, any type of consulting, and who knows what other stuff they got going on that they can hide. All of them earn at least $150,000 a year. They're all top 10% income earners. They don't have the struggles that everyday people have. And again, you don't have to be a billionaire to be in that position. I'll just explain this to you. So how the Democrats have somehow, the Democratic Party has somehow convinced everyday people that they are everyday people is a complete joke. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Jasmine Crockett and Kamala Harris and Barack Obama and who's another Democrat, Hillary Clinton. These people do not have struggles that you have. They don't have to make the decisions that you have to make. And none of them had to be billionaires. So this is actually a good play by the Democrats. They position themselves as we're the person for the everyday person, or at least the coastal everyday people. So the coastal, and is an interesting dichotomy because the coastal everyday people, these are the Californians, New York, Florida, Pennsylvania, Boston, DC. These coastal people think that the Democrats are for the everyday person. But if you go into middle America, we got any middle Americans here, people who are not on the coast, you ask them, they will look at Donald Trump as a person who's for the everyday person. So it's just interesting that different people see things completely differently. I believe on the coastal side, they believe the Democrats are for the everyday person, whereas on the Republican side, or the middle American side, they believe that the Republicans are for the everyday people, not just Trump, but just Republicans, period. And if you look at the electoral maps, this basically plays itself out. So using the government as a platform for their business or brand. This is what some people say is a criticism of the billionaires. They're using the government as a way of building up their own attention. Well, everybody's doing this, even if they don't have a business. I mean, look at AOC. Does she have a business? I don't think so. But does she use her position in the government to make herself more popular? I believe she has. She's done actually a good job of it. Miss Jasmine Crockett, black chick from Texas, is she using her platform in the government as a way of building up her own self? Yes, she is. They're all doing it. Everybody does this. This is not a negative thing. Using the fact that you are in a certain position to draw attention to yourself and get more people to know you, like you, and I guess follow you in some way. If they want to, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the game. That's just part of the game. I don't think there's anything wrong with this. Donald Trump does it. Elon does it. Barack Obama did it. Michelle Obama did it. She didn't have a job. All right. So everybody does this. It doesn't make them wrong. Next point. A couple more points here, and then I'll take questions. Moving fast and breaking things. This is what business owners do, especially people in the tech space. So this is a famous quote from, paraphrasing, from Mark Zuckerberg, the Facebook guy. When Facebook first came out, one of the things that he told his team was to move fast and break things. That was the motto over at Facebook. Move fast and break things. Why? Because in the tech space, especially entrepreneurial, the whole game is to get things done fast. That's how business works. Business is about speed, getting things done as fast as possible. The government is like the exact opposite. This is why I told you Elon's going to get frustrated with the government, because he can't be fast in the government. He can be fast at Tesla. He can be fast at SpaceX. He can't be fast in the government. It's impossible, because they're going to thwart him. Every time he tries to do something fast, they're going to slow him down. And eventually he's going to get annoyed with that. So we'll see what happens when that happens. It's going to happen. So there is a solid pushback against moving fast and breaking things in the government, because slashing regulations, being very aggressive with your moves, this can lead to instability for everyday people who cannot respond as quickly as an entrepreneur wants to move. Any of you ever worked with a startup? Any of you ever worked in a startup? Put the word startup in the comments if you ever worked at a startup. When you work at a startup company, everything happens fast. They take what a normal company would take 2 months to do, and they do it in 2 days. That's how it works when you work in a startup. Elon Musk has operated businesses with the mindset of a startup. Donald Trump generally has worked that way as well when he was in the business world. And the thing is, when you do that kind of thing in the government and move that fast, it creates instability, because you're dealing with a lot of people who are used to moving slow. When you're used to moving fast and you come into a place where everybody's used to moving slow and you start disrupting shit, they are going to push back. And again, the governmental system is designed to push back on you. It's not just the people pushing back. It's the system is designed to push back. And again, this is why Donald Trump stopped talking about draining the swamp, because he realized he couldn't move as fast in government as he did in business. And Elon's going to find this out. He's going to find it out very quickly, I suspect. Next one, billionaires and the ultra wealthy. Are they controlling politics? I don't think so. And at the same time, they may already control politics. I mean, this before Elon got involved, before Trump got involved, did people with a bunch of money have a lot of control over politics? Yes, because they control the media. I mean, media companies are big conglomerates that are owned by somebody, and there are people running them. They have a lot of money, and you put enough money behind any idea, you're going to get a lot of people to believe it. This is what it is. If I got a company to put $1 billion behind my name, and I told them where to put it, put $1 million over here on YouTube, put $1 million on Instagram, put $1 million on my Facebook page, put $1 million on X, and just run ads and TV commercials and billboards that are just all about me. Eventually, a whole bunch of people would know my name. They don't even know why they know my name. And the only reason is because they see me everywhere. So if you can get the media machine behind you, you can get people to believe pretty much anything. The media has been doing this forever. This is not new. As long as we've had radio and TV, there have been big conglomerates, people who have a lot of resources, using their resources to sell ideas to the people. Whether you knew they were selling you an idea or not, this is not new. Donald Trump didn't invent this. Elon didn't invent it. They will use it, but that doesn't make them wrong, because everybody uses it. And yes, it turns into social proof. Baby dog, what you say exactly. Social proof. What most people call social proof is just whatever you've heard often enough that you've decided to believe it. That's the way the subconscious mind works. There are 3 ways of programming the subconscious mind: immersion, emotionalization, and repetition. You hear anything over and over and over again, eventually you're going to accept it as true. Even if what you heard is some bullshit, you're going to believe it because you keep hearing it. That's the way the subconscious mind works. So the mainstream media understands this. So all they do is take any idea they want you to believe, and they just keep telling you. And eventually you accept it. Like, all right, this has to be true. Everybody keeps saying it must be true. Yes, this is the way it works. You think people are not this dense? You think people are too smart for that? No, they're not. All right, and that includes me and you. All right, we all end up believing things. We hear it often enough. That's why you need to be very careful about what you're listening to, what you're watching, and what you're reading, because you're eventually going to accept it. So automation and processes over human jobs. This one's already happening, and people are really mad about this, but it's already happening. It's going to happen. It's happening everywhere. If you work at a job that can be replaced by a computer code, a chip, or a robot, you will be replaced. It doesn't matter who it is or where you work. Don't have to be in the government. If you do a job that can be replaced by some computer code or by a chip or by some software, you are going to be replaced if you're not already replaced, or if your job is not already scheduling a meeting with you that you don't even know what's happening tomorrow. And then they're going to have a security guard in there to walk you out. All right. It's happening to everybody. So what I suggest to any of you who work at that type of job, and you need to be honest with yourself if you do, if you work at that type of job, you need to start figuring out how you can leverage automation and artificial intelligence rather than try to run away from it, because it's going to catch you. You can't run away from artificial intelligence. There will come a time, I say in the next 25 years, actually it's not going to take that long, 15 years, where something like, maybe not necessarily what I'm doing right now, but something very similar to where like a podcast episode or a YouTube video, there will be an AI version of me that will basically take all the content I've ever put out over the last 20 years. It will download and absorb all that content, get a feel for my style, how I like to talk, the kind of words that I use, my physicality, my verbal tics. Is going to download all of that and is going to create an AI version of Dre Baldwin to where I could do a live stream. And it's the AI bot talking to y'all, and you wouldn't know that it's the AI bot. All right, that's coming in the next 15 years. Guaranteed. That I'm going to be live streaming for 2 hours every day, but it's not actually going to be me. It's going to be my bot. And the bot is going to be so good, so realistic, and it's going to sound so much like me that you will think that you're actually looking at me. And I'm going to be over there doing something else that has nothing to do with it. I'll be listening maybe and watching, but it's going to be that good. That's coming. Guaranteed that's coming. And it's guaranteed that it's coming, that there'll be a bot that can be like a coach, to where like I got a coaching program right now, but if you're in my coaching program, you actually talk to me. But there's coming a time where I'm going to have a bot that's like the coach. And then you get on a Zoom call with my bot, or you get on an app with my bot, or there's some virtual reality bot. You put it on your phone and it looks like I'm sitting right there talking to you, like right across from you. And you ask me a question, or you share a challenge with me. And I'm going to ask you questions back so I get more information. Then I'm going to break down your situation. Then I'm going to answer your question. Then I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. I'm going to give you time to think about it. And we're going to have a full-on conversation. And you're going to be talking to my AI bot. You're not actually talking to me. I'm going to be on vacation somewhere. And my bot is going to be having 3 different coaching calls at the same time with 3 different people. One of them in Phoenix, one of them in New York, one of them in Orlando. And each one of those people are going to feel like they're talking to me, because it's going to talk like me. It's going to sound like me. It's going to answer the way that I would answer. It's going to have all of my knowledge downloaded into its brain. And I'm going to be charging people money for this. That's coming. Guaranteed that's coming. Any of you who has a library of content, that's what's going to be the source. Because that's, if y'all don't know, that's how ChatGPT works, and all these apps, that's how they work. The reason that ChatGPT can answer so many questions is because they basically downloaded all the information in the world and put it into a bot. And then they taught the bot how to think and reason, how to explain the information when you ask it a question. So the more information you have already created, the better your bot's going to be. I got 20 years worth of content, and I'm going to have a bot that's going to do all the work for me. And I'm going to be retired from doing things like this. And my bot's going to be working for me, but it's going to sound just like me. You won't even know that it's not me. Why am I talking about this? Because if you work at McDonald's, how easy is it going to be to replace you? I'm telling you something that's actually very complex. Listening to a question, answering it with the right information and answering, making it look realistic, that's actually very complex work. And at first, it's going to cost a lot of money to get one of these bots, but it's going to be worth it. Let's say the bot costs $50,000. I might invest in the bot, because the money I'm going to make back from the bot working for me will be worth $5 million. $50,000 is nothing. You get what I'm saying? So if you're doing something that you're doing the same task over and over again at your job, how easy you think it's going to be to replace your work? I'm talking about some very complex shit. Anyway, the government's pushing back on this. That's my point. The government is pushing back on all this stuff because there are people there who've been working there their entire lives. They haven't done anything else. And what are they going to do if they get replaced? This is the existential question of AI, by the way, and automation. The existential question is not about if AI and automation are useful. We know that they're useful. And there are ways that they can be they can be improved, of course. But generally, we know that they're useful. The problem is a lot of human beings who don't have a lot of skill are going to be rendered irrelevant in the professional marketplace because of AI. Therefore, there's a lot of people who will end up with no job because they can't provide value against what AI and automation offer. So this is really going to become a moral question. It's not a technology question. It's a moral question. Is it okay for 80% of the workforce to not have a job because AI is better than these humans, is that okay? That's really going to become the question, because the people who are still going to have a job or have a business are going to be people who know how to use AI and automation. And the people who get used by it, they're going to be the ones who get replaced. So here's what I suggest to you all before that existential question becomes an issue for you, is that you learn how to use AI and automation so that, again, it's not hunting you down and replacing you. That's my suggestion to you. And you can do with that what you want. I'm going to take one more point, then I'm going to take questions. So no commitment to long-term governance. This is a challenge that people may have with someone like Elon, especially Elon, because he wasn't elected. Donald Trump was elected. Elon wasn't elected. So one of the challenges people may have to him is that, hey, this guy is only going to be here for 4 years. He's going to do whatever he does for those 4 years. But then when Donald Trump's term is up, what's Elon going to do? Well, he's going to leave too. So whatever changes he implements, the government and everybody else is going to be stuck dealing with these changes, but he's going to be back out doing whatever he was doing before. This is a legitimate challenge to somebody like Elon. Now, this doesn't mean Elon can't do what he does for these 4 years, but it is a legitimate question. Hey, what are we going to do when this guy's gone and all the changes that he implements we got to live with it? Hopefully, and Elon's a very smart guy, what I think he's going to do, if I had to defend that point, my defense of it is this, is that Elon understands systems very well. So he's going to put systems in place that do not require his physical presence. They don't require his knowledge or his intellect. He puts the system in place. All he's doing is replacing the current system with a more effective and efficient system. That's the reason why it's called Department of Government Efficiency. Efficiency does not mean, it doesn't say Department of Government Intellect or Intelligence or Genius. It's the Department of Government Efficiency. And efficiency means he's going to put systems in place to where the business and the organization, rather, because it's the government as an organization, will run more efficiently even when he's not around anymore. That's the whole point. I mean, Elon's not in a Tesla factory putting doors on cars, but Tesla is still selling cars, right? So that's the whole point. The whole point is that he's going to put systems in place to where his personal knowledge or genius is not necessary and is not needed in the space. It's needed at the beginning because he has to put everything in place. But as he puts things in place, then he'll be less needed. And eventually, when you own anyone who runs any type of business, your ultimate goal is to put yourself in a situation where you can remove yourself from the business. The business keeps running, you keep serving people, and you keep making money, but you don't physically have to be doing anything, but the business is still making money. What I just explained to you. Within the next 15 years, I'm going to have an AI Dre Baldwin bot that you will not be able to tell the difference. It'll be doing all the work for me. I'll still be able to make money, and I don't have to physically do anything. That's the goal. That's the way you want to set your business up. And even if AI bots don't come along, I can still do that. The point is, Elon will be able to do this because he understands this. So he doesn't need to be committed to long-term governance. And Elon is not an elected official anyway. So I see this as a good thing because the government should operate in a way that no individual person is necessary for it to work well. If you need one individual person, the problem with that is human beings eventually expire. Every human being eventually dies. People get old. I mean, look at Joe Biden. Nobody just stays, spry and active and healthy forever. All right, even Donald Trump, if you're a fan of him, he ain't going to be around forever. And even if even when his term is over, he's gone. So now what? So there has to be systems in place that last longer than the person. If you have not read the book Good to Great by Jim Collins, the book is basically the thesis of the book, is that what makes companies great is not that they had just this unbelievable charismatic superstar as the CEO, but that they had a great process and a great system that even as CEOs changed over the years, the company continued to move forward. Because if the company is only good when they have that one guy or one girl, then as soon as that guy or girl leaves, then the company is going to fall back down. And that's a problem. So look at a company like Apple. We all agree Steve Jobs was very good at what he did. But when Steve Jobs passed away almost 15 years ago and he left, the company has continued to rise because it's more about the company than it was about the guy. Now, if the company is just about the guy, then as soon as the guy leaves, then the company is going to fall down. We don't want that. We want the system to be better. We want the system to be bigger than the person. And I explain this to entrepreneurs that I work with all the time. You want to put systems and processes in place that are better than you so that even when you're not around, the system and process can still produce the result. Because if the process and the result is all dependent on you, if you get sick, if you get hurt, if you can't do your thing anymore, if you go on vacation, if your kid gets sick, if your dog dies, and you got to deal with that, then you can't produce a result because everything depends on you. So you don't want to be in that situation. They call that in business, they call it the key man risk. You don't want to have too much key man risk where everything depends on one person. And this also applies to Elon Musk. It applies to Donald Trump, MAGA, etc., all these things. All right. All that being said, folks, I've been talking for an hour and 45 minutes straight. Let's take some questions. And let's see what we got. We'll start over on YouTube. Matt Villainy, good morning. So you read all three of those? Yes. Well, yeah. Read them again. Matt Villainy, read all those books are worth reading more than once. So the three books I mentioned: Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Read all of those books, and everybody who's read them more than once. Kevin Baldwin said, do you believe there will be enough jobs created in the AI field to maintain the workforce? No. The whole purpose of the AI field is to replace the workforce. That's the very purpose of its existence. That's the reason why people are pushing back on it, and it creates this existential question, Kevin, of is it okay for a bunch of people to lose their jobs just because technology is better than them? My answer, and again, I have the mindset of an entrepreneur and I have the mindset of a competitor. My answer is yes, it is okay, because I'm advising everybody who's listening to me, put yourself on the right side of this equation. Don't just sit there and wait for them to come get you, because they are going to come get you if you just sit there and wait. So do I believe there will be enough jobs? The answer is no, there will not. A bunch of people are going to lose their jobs. What's going to happen, Kevin, though? Human beings are very adaptable. People are going to find other ways to be useful in ways that they were not useful before, simply because of necessity. Necessity is the mother of invention, as they said. Rio said, is it better to lift weights or do basketball practice first? I'll answer your question quickly. I would say if you're a basketball player, do basketball first and lift weights second. But let's keep the questions on topic. So so they didn't put me on the For You page on TikTok today. So I don't know if I'm getting any crazy DMs today, but we'll see. Yeah, they posted pictures of themselves with the stolen items. That's exactly what happened. Soul Art, New York. Say government workers are known for low performance. Well, the system puts them in a position to do that. It incentivizes it. So it's not even that they're bad performers. They could be good performers. You put them in the right environment. Zahir said 95% of jobs that practice nepotism. Well, nepotism is a good thing if you're a beneficiary of it. Soul Art said, I don't understand why nobody tried to make the government more efficient before Elon. Well, again, how many entrepreneurs have you had in the government? Most entrepreneurs are doing their business. They're not dealing with the government. So they have no reason. Baby Dog said both parties are no good. And yeah, it turns into social proof. Yeah, I get it. IBB said ChatGPT is close to that. Yeah, you can technically you can do it now. You can create a bot, but the thing is the cost is very high and is not so easily accessible for everybody. But it's coming. It's absolutely coming. So TikTok, y'all got questions on TikTok. Let's go and address them. Let's see. Jeanette said, what do you think about removing DEI from our public schools? Will this destroy our schools? No, it will absolutely not destroy schools. And where's DEI in schools? I know about DEI at jobs, but in schools, what does that even mean? DEI in schools. I know they have CRT in schools, but where's DEI working in schools? You mean like hiring people? Or what other ways is DEI influential inside of a school? I don't even know what you mean by that. I would say that removing DEI from anywhere is not going to destroy anything. I don't think there's any area in which if you remove DEI is going to be destroyed. People may not be happy about it, but it's not going to be destroyed because those things all existed before DEI. So why would removing it destroy anything? DEI didn't build anything, so it can't destroy anything. Dr. Black Sox says they don't want us to know that they are basically all the same. Well, a lot of people already understand it. Like you just said, we already know. And Pretty in Pink said, our government's wasteful spending has made some struggle, especially seniors. Yes, that's true. And it's also true. And again, one of the pillars of what we do is accountability. I would say to anyone, before you become a senior, you want to set yourself up to where you are not dependent on the government. So just in case the government comes up short, then you ain't got to worry about it. Jeanette said that truck is junk. Yeah, well, a lot of people like that truck. I see a lot of people driving it. I think a lot of people got it just because it's a popular car and you can spot it from a mile away. I see people riding those cars, and as soon as you see it, you notice it. Like it stands out. It doesn't look like anything else out there. So I think a lot of people got it just because it stands out, not because they actually like the car. But I have not driven one. I haven't rode in a Cybertruck yet. So I got to go find somebody with a Cybertruck and see what it looks like on the inside. Princess said NASA has done deals with the government. Yeah, that's right. But see, nobody hates the people who run NASA. We don't even know who they are. Everybody knows who Elon is. Christina said, Xtina said, didn't Biden give him those contracts? Yeah, he had the contracts before Trump was in. Yes, he had. It wasn't even that Biden did it. It's just the government did it before Trump was in, but nobody wants to talk about that. So, Xtina, you are correct. But nobody wants to bring that up because it would negate their very point. The very point is to trash Trump. That's the whole goal. Everybody, let's not forget the goal. The goal was to trash Donald Trump. So any way they can trash Donald Trump, doesn't have to be factually true. As long as it sounds good, people will buy it. Boat 789, it's the worst tool for the job. The car is inefficient. Well, there must be some reasonable justification they gave for doing that deal. I don't know exactly what they're doing with it. I just heard about it. I didn't read the details. Xtina said the way he showed up with Starlink and saved lives. Yeah, you know where I was on? I was on a United flight last weekend, and I complained to United that they're charging for Wi-Fi, and Wi-Fi wasn't even that good, and they only allow you one device. And they said they're in the middle of doing a deal with Starlink, and by the end of this year, United's going to have free Wi-Fi provided by Starlink on every flight. They told me that in an email just like 3 days ago, and they refunded me for my Wi-Fi because I complained to them that how are organizations making you pay for Wi-Fi and then letting you use only one device? I said to United, like, it's 2025. How are you limiting me to one device? Everybody uses at least two devices, and I got to pay for Wi-Fi, but I only use one device. That's stupid. So United, get your shit together. Boat said, I don't know what you're referring to. Princess Living said, I don't like Tesla. I like Elon Musk. Yeah, I like Elon. I'm not a fan of Teslas. I've ridden in some Teslas. I don't like the Tesla car. I only like electric vehicles, period. But a lot of people like the Tesla. So shout out to people with Teslas. Jeanette said, if it's the best option, but honestly, it's not. To me, it's a conflict of interest. Well, what's a better option? If it's not the best option, what's a better option? Irma V got the 3 gifter badge. Irma, thank you for the roses. Pretty in Pink said, a client of mine loves their Tesla. I don't care for electric car, but love solar power. Yeah, I like the concept of solar power a lot. Yeah, I don't like electric vehicles. I just don't even like how the Tesla looks. But it's obvious a lot of people really love Teslas. Pretty in Pink said, more charitable when you have more. Yes, technically. Tyrone, good morning. Xtina says he's got more to lose than anyone. David Biggers, good to see you. Kat said there's no transparency. Truth doesn't mind questions. Lies don't like being challenged. That is true. I agree with that. I think Elon would be very transparent. I don't think he minds answering questions. And also, he doesn't mind admitting that he had a theory that was incorrect. Entrepreneurs generally don't mind letting you know they tried something that didn't work. People who work in bureaucracies generally don't like admitting that they tried something that didn't work because they might lose their jobs for trying something that doesn't work. Because you don't have to stick your neck out when you're in a bureaucracy. You can just follow the system and keep getting your check. If you try something outside of the bounds of the system and fail, why did you even try? But when you are an entrepreneur, you have to try things because that's the whole point of being an entrepreneur, is that you're bringing something new to the marketplace that previously did not exist. Because if you're not, why are you even existing? So Elon will try things that won't work, and he will admit, hey, I tried this, it didn't work. And people are going to attack him when he does that. But those people don't understand entrepreneurship. They don't understand the mindset of an entrepreneur, more importantly, because generally the government is not an entrepreneurial venture in that sense. But you should understand the mindset of an entrepreneur because that's who Elon is. So it will explain his actions when you understand his line of reasoning, or the structure of his line of reasoning. I don't know Elon, can't read his mind, but I know he's an entrepreneur, so I understand what he does. Jeanette says, to me, they are destroying everything that was put in place to protect the consumer from big business. Such as what? I know it was the CFPB. I know people are talking about that one, but it depends on what they replace it with. So people are reacting to the headline that they're going to try to replace this, but they didn't say what they're going to do in its stead. So we got to find out what they want to put in its place, and then I can make that judgment. But I can't just go off the headline. Because again, as I explained in the beginning of this, the headline is anything that makes Trump look bad, you push that and sensationalize it, and people get all excited. But they don't read the fine print. Maya Burton said, to take over the world is called dictatorship. And I don't think they're taking over the world. That sounds good, but no, I don't think so. David said, progress involves sacrifice. Yes, it does. Progress comes at a cost. Pretty in Pink said, I think Elon is smart. I believe he is a perfect job for him. I don't know if it's a perfect job for him, but hopefully he does well, because if he's clearly doing stuff. So whatever he does, I hope it does well. Jeanette said they're already trying to keep the tax lower for billionaires. Not fair. Well, Jeanette, who told you that life was fair? Life is not supposed to be fair. And I already explained. Jeanette, did you hear me explain why people who have more money get tax breaks? Did you hear my explanation of that? I think I did a pretty good explanation of why. They give tax breaks to people with money because people with money can leave. They have the resources to take their money elsewhere, whereas people who don't have resources can't take their money elsewhere. So that's why people who have resources get breaks from the government, because the government needs them. And they provide most of the tax dollars anyway. Most money that the government collects from taxes come from billionaires and corporations, not from everyday people. And yeah, they found those guys who sold stuff, Xtina. And they found them because they were posting on the internet pictures of themselves with all the stuff that they stole. And not the internet, but well, technically the internet. It was a Apple chat group that was stored in the cloud. So all the FBI did was subpoena Apple to get access to that chat group, and that's how they got the information. So technically it wasn't social media. They were posting to each other, but the conversation was saved in the cloud. So that's how the FBI got access to it. So they basically had a group chat, and the group chat was on the internet, on the cloud rather, not the internet like for me and you to see, but in the cloud. And the FBI found that cloud chat, and that's how they found them. Because they guys had all the conversations, all the pictures, everything they were doing was all in there. They told on themselves, yeah. Well, they probably didn't realize that stuff was getting saved in the cloud. That's probably what they didn't realize. So they just didn't know what they didn't know. But that is part of being stupid. That's correct. You're going to commit crime, you better make sure you cover all your bases. You're right about that. Junaid over on YouTube said, what is your perspective about success? That's a very broad question. You got to ask me a better question than that. Baby Dog says, save this live, please. Can I watch this from the beginning? Yes, you can. All the replays of these will be on YouTube. Everybody watching this, you want to see the replay of this, or you want to see it from the beginning, is on YouTube. Every live I do, the replay is on YouTube. And even if YouTube messes up, if this live got messed up on YouTube because I had to restart the stream, if it got messed up, what I'll do is download the stream from one of the other streams and I'll upload it to my YouTube channel. So either way, the replay will be on YouTube, guaranteed. So anybody want to watch the replays of anything I've ever done, or I tell you that I did something and you didn't know about it, just go to YouTube. It's all there. All right, so Pretty in Pink said, call them rugs. What does that mean? Congratulations to KB for reaching member level 3 on my team. I don't even know what that means, but congratulations to KB for reaching that level 3 on my team. I think it's some TikTok subscription thing that they got. Ingrid said, you said about cities going down a road in your example of illogical thinking. Yeah, I was talking about slippery slope thinking. That if somebody takes one step in one direction, that means they're going to go and do a whole bunch of other things. It's like if somebody, again, the example was if somebody smokes a cigarette, you say, well, it's not going to be long before you're overdosing on heroin. Not necessarily the case. Now, can cigarettes be a gateway to other things? Yes. But does that mean everybody who smokes a cigarette is eventually going to go do some hard drugs? No. So I think that's what I said to TikTok that pissed off TikTok, actually. So I got to be careful now, y'all listening. I can't mention the D word. So I can't say drugs. So I found that out today. That's news to me. TikTok has all these community guidelines and restrictions. So the last 2 days, those of you watching on, all y'all watching, the last 2 days on TikTok, they put me on the For You page. And when you're on the For You page, at least for me, when I'm on the For You page, I'll have like 300 people watching at the same time on my streams. Right now, it says 43 people are watching because TikTok didn't put me on the For You page today. I appreciate the people who are watching, but they didn't put me on the For You page because they said I mentioned the D word, drugs. And apparently mentioning that word restricts you from being on the For You page on TikTok. So again, every time I get a violation on TikTok, I learn something new about their rules. So this is what happened. I got the rule that you can't mention drugs. So I got to make sure not to say that again so I can get back on the For You page. Again, did you learn something new every day? So Pretty in Pink. Yeah, I've been told that. So my moderator, Brittany, has told me, hey, there's certain words you got to be careful not to say. So now I know certain words I can't say. But what's funny is Pretty in Pink, that SA, I've said that and they don't care. TikTok didn't have a problem with me saying SA. And they didn't have a problem with me even saying the R word. I think I've said it a few times and they didn't care. I think I said it by accident. I didn't mean to, but I said it by accident. They didn't care. But the D word, now they care. So I think they change their rules whenever they feel like it. Jeanette said they need term limits. Yes, they do. Like every day somebody said that in the comments. We do need term limits, but the problem is they would have to pass some type of laws in order to create term limits. And who votes for the laws? The same people who will be limited. So would you vote to get yourself fired? I doubt it. So that's the problem. That's the problem. Xtina said, I love watching the dinosaur Dems sing and cry on TV. Well, they're doing that now because Trump's in control, but don't speak too soon, because if the Democrat wins the next election, there's going to be the Republicans crying on TV. All right, so don't get cocky. Jeanette said the reason they need terms if they stay in government 20 years. Yeah, we know. Jeanette, I agree with you. The problem is the only way we're going to get term limits is if Congress okays it, and Congress are the exact people who will be limited. So again, would you vote to remove yourself from your own job? That's the problem. There's another way to do it. You got to get all the states involved. I mentioned this on here 2 days ago, and ChatGPT explained how it works. The problem is the people in the states are cool with the people who work in the federal government representing the state. So how is this ever going to happen? I don't know how it would ever happen. Consumer Rights said, what's your thoughts on removal of CFPB? It depends on what they replace it with. I mentioned that a couple minutes ago. You probably heard it. It depends on what they replace it with. If they replace it with nothing, then that's a different conversation. I'll do a whole live on that. If they replace it with something, once we find out what that something is, I'll probably talk about that too, because a lot of people are bringing that up. So let's see what they do, Consumer Rights Warrior, and I will do a live talking about that. But let's see what they're replacing it with first. So we can't jump to conclusions with only half the information. Xtina said, did Obama reduce the government? I don't think so. I don't think he reduced the government. I think he increased the reach of the government because, again, what other skills does Barack Obama have? Just by deductive reasoning, why would he reduce the government? That would reduce the significance of a person like himself. Pretty in Pink said, AI really scares me for our country. Pretty in Pink, don't get scared by AI. I would say you learn how to use it because we know it's coming. It's already here, as a matter of fact. AI is already here. So any of you who is concerned about AI, here's what I suggest you do. Start using it and learn how to leverage it so that when it becomes even bigger in our lives, you are not afraid of it, but you are actually benefiting from it. Because if you sit there and do nothing, AI is going to overtake your life, guaranteed. So don't be scared of AI. It is actually very useful once you learn how to use it. You saw me use it earlier. I asked ChatGPT a question. It gave me a very good answer. Maya said, oh, okay, not on, I don't know what you're talking about on YouTube. All my replays are on YouTube. That's what you're asking for. Jeanette said, my sister does contract work for the government and they do most of the work. So yes, we need change. All right. Well, hopefully she keeps her job. Hopefully she keeps her job because contracts can be made by ChatGPT these days. So you should let your sister know. She probably already knows that. And she might be using ChatGPT herself at her job. She might be using it, Jeanette. So you should reach out to your sister and ask her, do you use ChatGPT to get pieces of the contract done? She should, because it'll make her faster. And Pretty in Pink said he stopped saying it and called a team and is doing it. Yes, exactly. He stopped saying drain the swamp because I believe he realized that he couldn't drain it. Not by himself, he couldn't. Xtina said, love it. More like dinosaurs. Yeah, well, dinosaurs don't live in swamps for the most part. So alligator's a better analogy. I get what you're saying. David says stopping embezzlement. Yeah, well, that's one of the things that Elon's trying to find. The thing is, there's so many layers of bureaucracy, it's hard to pinpoint things on a certain person. When a person in the government gets caught doing something illegal, they had to really be egregious to get caught because there's so many layers of bureaucracy. It's very easy to hide. You can hide doing stuff in the government because there's so many layers that you can hide behind. Pretty said could be updating and learning chat. Yeah, learn ChatGPT, definitely. Pretty in Pink says the USPS included in that report. Well, Trump put out there that he was thinking about getting rid of the USPS. And again, it depends on what they replace it with. So just removing it and leaving a vacuum, of course, will be a problem. But I don't think that's the plan. I think what people need to understand about Donald Trump is that he throws things out there just to see how people react to it. It's not because he's actually going to do it. People tend to because people are so emotionalized about Donald Trump, they get very reactive about everything he says. And they think that he really means he's going to do every single thing that he says. But he doesn't. That's not the way he talks. He just throws shit out there just to see how people respond to it. And then maybe he will take it further or maybe he'll never mention it again. He does that all the time. He's been doing it for 40 years. And people still haven't caught on. That's just the way he talks. It's just his style. And what it does is it keeps his name in the news. And do you think Donald Trump cares about having his name in the news? He absolutely does. That's how he got here. Jeanette said they keep putting junk in my mailbox. That's not the post office doing that, Jeanette. That's businesses putting junk in your mailbox. The USPS doesn't send you mail. People send you mail. Companies send you mail. And the reason they send you mail is because it works, Jeanette. The reason, you know how y'all get mail and it'll be all these like flyers and circulars from the grocery store and this flyer, welcome to the neighborhood. Let me clean your pool and you don't even have a pool. And you get all that stuff that y'all call junk mail. The reason you get junk mail is because junk mail works. The reason you get junk mail because it works. People make more money off the sales they make from the junk mail than they spend sending the junk mail. That's an absolute fact. So any of you who get mad about junk mail, don't get mad. When you get junk mail, you should actually read it and find out how those people are making money off of it, because I guarantee you they're making money. Junk mail still makes money. Junk mail been out for 40 years. Why do you think they never stopped? And you ever wonder why you still get junk mail to this day? And you were getting junk mail when you were a kid? Because it works, ladies and gentlemen. It works. Read up on, they call it direct mail. It's called direct mail. Direct mail is there's an entire industry around direct mail. And there are people who make millions of dollars doing direct mail, physically sending you mail to your mailbox, and they make money off that. You might not buy it, but there are people who buy that stuff. David said, every place I work, traditional all day said, I know many. Yeah, it's a big thing. It happens everywhere. This is called inefficiency. In startups, you can't be inefficient because you'll get sussed out and fired. But in bureaucratic organizations, it happens all the time. Pretty in Pink said, I just want to say I don't want to scan and bag my own groceries. I don't like that. Well, Pretty in Pink, it's only a matter of time before you don't have a choice. A lot of grocery stores are removing those. No, it's funny because in Miami, in the city, they used to have all humans at the Whole Foods. And then they had like 4 or 5 self-checkouts. Now they got like 30 self-checkouts, and there's only like 2 people with the conveyor belt standing there. There's only 2 of them now, and there's like 30 self-checkouts. That's in the city, in downtown Miami. But if you go outside of Miami, you go to a place like Boca Raton, for example, their Whole Foods, they got a big Whole Foods. They only have like 4 or 5 self-checkouts, and the rest of it is human checkout. And the reason is because you got a lot of older people in Boca Raton. Is a little bit more on the conservative side, more older folks, older demographic. So they're going to be slower to make that change. But eventually they're going to make the change too. Probably not as big as the downtown, the city one did, but eventually it's only going to be like 2 humans doing checkout at anywhere you go. And you're going to have to wait in line if you want the human checkout, or you can go quickly and you can bag your own groceries. I understand you not wanting to bag your own groceries. And I don't think a lot of women like to bag their own groceries. Personally, I like bagging my own groceries because I'd rather go fast than get the service. But I understand your position of you not wanting to bag yours. Blazers Pip, appreciate you. David says, so glad I'm retired. Yeah, you got out. You got out while you had a chance. So businesses that hire a lot of employees, yeah. Pretty in Pink said, I was born to be an entrepreneur, did just that. That's right. What's your business? What kind of business do you do? Pretty in Pink said you had to do your deductions first because they employ people, right? Correct. As long as our taxes are well spent. Yeah, well, the problem is we don't know where the money's going, or we don't always know. That's what Elon's doing, but there's a lot of people who don't like the fact that he's pointing it out. That's the issue. Can't wait, said, love your content. Thank you. Buzzle said he's 100% right. Yes, thank you for the bracelet, KB. KB, appreciate it. Shout out to y'all who got the gifter badge. Thank you for the gifts on TikTok. I hope it makes a difference at the state level too. Well, we'll see. The state level is more about, the good thing about the United States is that we got the federal stuff, and then at the state level, we get to vote on it. So voting in your local elections, that's how we determine things at the state level. So we'll see. KB said, I make my kids do that. Yeah, it is a good math lesson to learn how to do it. They have accountants for that. Yeah. They make 174K, all worth over 20 million. All of them? Who are you talking about, KB? Who makes 174K? Maya said, I don't agree on that. What point? What are you disagreeing with? Can't wait till they audited AOC goes back to bartending. Now, she ain't going back to bartending, KB. She's famous now. She'll have a way of making money based on her fame, even if she left politics. It might not be sustainable, but she'll have ways of making money just because of her brand name. Pretty in Pink said you have to work fast and efficient in your business. That's right. Maya said Trump is a professional narcissist. I would agree with that. It doesn't necessarily make him a bad guy, though. His narcissism is the reason why we know his name. That's it. Pretty in Pink said AI can write books for people. Well, I've tried the AI book writing thing. I didn't like it because it strips the personality out of the book. It can make an informational book very well, but if you put any personality in your writing, then AI can't do that. It's not there yet. And I've tried. Trust me. Carla said, hopefully Trump, I lost my spot. I'll take a couple more questions, then we'll wrap this up, folks. I got to go to the bathroom. Someone has to control AI. Yes, that's one of the arguments about it right now. Lord Shiner said talking for 1.5. That's a fact. Yes, I did. 1.5, and I'm still talking now. I'm just reading y'all comments. Nicole says Cybertrucks are like those cars we drew in the first grade. Actually, they do. That's a good analogy. That is what they look like. And now Elon went and made it. Toadette said Trump canceled the Tesla contract, so it's not happening. Okay, I don't know if that's true or not, but maybe that is what happened. Poor people don't hire people to work for them. That's correct. Well, neither do employees in general. Darren said, host, I'm an angry black man. You're angry? What you angry about? Maya said, you're welcome. Very enlightening. Thank you. Oh, I can say rugs. Okay, I didn't know what y'all meant with rugs. Oh, so rugs replaces D rugs? Okay. Y'all got all these little tricks on TikTok. I didn't know about these tricks. My moderator, Brittany, she sometimes messages me and tells me about these little tricks. I didn't know about these. So y'all know about this stuff you got to do on TikTok to work around their community guidelines. I'm just running into walls on TikTok when they do this. KE said, what happened over on YouTube? He said, what happened to basketball content? KE, I stopped playing basketball 10 years ago. Where you been? You been hiding under a rock? So all that being said, everybody, I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Today is Thursday, so I'll be doing another one tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think I got a topic I want to talk about, but something else might bump it off the schedule. We will see. So tomorrow I will be live at 8 o'clock Eastern. I usually go about 2 hours, depending on the subject and depending on the engagement in the comments. I go longer or shorter, but usually at least an hour, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes longer than 2 hours like I did here today. I do put the replays up on my YouTube channel. So if you didn't catch this whole thing or you missed one in the past, just go to my YouTube channel. The link is in my profile on TikTok, or you just go to youtube.com/@DreB. My name is Dre, D-R-E. Last name is Baldwin, starts with the letter B. So just put YouTube @DreB, or just put my name, Dre Baldwin, in the search and you'll see my stuff come up. I got probably 14,000 videos on YouTube all told, between mindset stuff, basketball stuff, business stuff, current event stuff, my podcast, all of that is on YouTube. I have a show that comes out every day. It's called Work on Your Game. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube. It's my masterclass, what many of you call a podcast. WorkOnYourGameUniversity.com. If you like to work with me directly, have me as your direct coach. You can learn more about that. We work with entrepreneurs, salespeople, business professionals, licensed professionals. That's all at WorkOnYourGameUniversity.com. And as I already told you, I got to go to the bathroom. I'm sitting here for 2 hours. Everybody have a great Thursday. I will see you all tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern. Have a great day. We are out of here.